Good to say. I'm Professor Han. I work at Yonsei University, and I am currently working for bioengineering, and I was former dean of pharmaceutical studies. I wanted to put some industrial characteristics in pharmaceutical when some while ago, and futuristic biohealth care industry is the key. And in the middle of developing the field, like Professor Kim from Session 5 said, the securing manpower is really important. Why I'm mentioning this is that I graduated from School of Pharmacy, and when I studied pharmacy, it was like refining was number one, and capsule doses were also renowned. However, people did not prefer injecting because people can take oral pills 3 times a day, but people don't get 3 injections a day. But thanks to the development of drugs, instead of like getting 3 shots a day, nowadays you can just get a single shot a month. So that was a game changer. So the aims of this pharmacy changed, and just like CAR T, among other cell therapy, so once a month is now like the past. So now, if you just take one medication, then that's all. If you shift to the digital therapy field, then nowadays the visible um, drugs is no longer, and you can just use like invisible, intangible drugs. So the paradigm of medicine is keep changing, and there were a number of game changers from oral pills to injection. There was like fusion and the CAR T treatment, where you need only one treatment. So I personally have been thinking that microbiomes have a great potential because people eat food at least once a day, and your organs can't process the food 100%. Then where does the rest go? If you take if you take overdose of antibiotics, then it could lead to diarrhea. So, what kind of studies could you further conduct to find the secrets, and how we do so will be a game changer of the future of pharmaceutics. So I personally do not prefer microbiomes because I got old. So I got older and older, and like the elderly don't like new things. But today, by listening to presentations, I thought, maybe I should learn about it. And this microbiome is has its own universe, and this is a very new approach. So, Genome and Company did a very meaningful presentation from R&D into business, and usually biotech companies usually are limited to R&D. However, you showed a vision that from research to commercializing it. So today, the question that I would like to ask is that in order to be a game changer, where specifically should we focus on? Well, that question is really complicated, so it's so difficult to answer. But not only microbiomes, but all those conventional drugs or antibiotics, among others. In terms of mobility, what should matter the most is the key, I would say. So, from a company's perspective, of course, R&D is the most important, and life sciences specialists, of course, would say that research is important, and what kind of efficacy can be found from animals, and what about humans, and how can we prove them? Those are really important parts. And I have been working for a genome and company for 4 years, and I said efficacy is more important than traits. So if you found results from animals, and what kind of characteristics should you change to apply to human beings, and what kind of efficacy. Right, so it's like finding a way in the middle of a maze. So conducting research, you can find a way. So traits and characteristics, microbiome, of course, has its own safety. So that is why other characteristics are not considered as priority. But nowadays, deregulation has to be followed. So we have licensed from the United States, but they have to get licensed in Korea too. So say even in the United States, if they think that this is safe enough, then they are kind of like relatively open-minded to Korea. So in terms of that, the KFDA's microbiome guideline, I think the KFDA should preemptively, like rapidly, come up with the regulations so that it can open a room for us. And third is that, well, we are kind of worried about the stock price of our company, among others. But if you have hope in modality, and if you actively invest in our company, then all the researchers will have more energy and baseline to conduct their research. So that's what I would like to say. So like you said, CEO Sa, you said efficacy really matters. Comes to me the most. So I myself has a startup company, and people ask me that actually the one who wins takes it all is the last actor. But we have to focus on that point. So currently I'm taking a year off from lecturing. So before that I was also my advisor to various fields, and today Mike, I would like to say nowadays there's rising demand in industry, and by creating a platform and preparing it, they matter a lot. And the GMP factor is really important. And without a proper manufacturing facility, you cannot guarantee sales, right? So I personally think, in terms of industrial productivity of microbiome, in order to secure productivity, we have to work on CMC or GMP, among others, when handling them. The biggest problems, if there are, and how should we overcome the challenges? Well, we also is thinking a lot about manufacturing, and we're putting efforts to expand our manufacturing power. And with HM Pharma, among others, we're like seeking partnership and to build our manufacturing power. But if you identify microbiome and lactobacillus, right, there is a trend of regarding the two the same. But however, I think people should change microbiome and lactobacillus. Well, you can just breed the two, people would say. But when it comes to food, like the licensing for food and licensing for drugs, they're totally different, right? So it's like oil and water. They're so different, but people consider it that way. Then there is a vague line between the two. So when licensing and producing them, say Samsung Biologics or your university, like they will probably take a strict approach. They say, ah, this is lactobacillus. You can just put in a lab and breed it and just culture it. I think people's recognition should change. That people should recognize microbiome as a part of drug. So the regulations should change. And how are we going to produce microbiomes based on this systematic licensing or medicine? I think that is the most challenging part. Because if you're newly inventing something brand new, then people will have new regulations. However, because this lactobacillus and microbiome are conventional items, so there are existing regulations. So I think the recognition should be changed. Okay, then, last but not least, I have this last question. Then probably we can wrap it up. So when I was listening to your presentation, CEO Saw, you are working on a microbiome, and the microbiome in the human body is flora. Like they have multi strains and complaints under the name of them. If you would explain them. So in terms of processing and manufacturing, single strains would work, but in the future, if this field gets a lot of attention and in terms of patents, there must be some systematical difficulties. What do you think? Like you said, Professor, of course we need the field and we have to work on it. But if you take a look at the consortia, multi-strain strategy, single-strain strategy, we are taking two different approaches. Currently, single strains are easier to come up, and like PKR or tracking, it's much easier. And single strain is not just injecting and staying there, but it goes out of the human body. So the metabolistic treatment efficacy, there is efficacy. So we are currently working on R&D. So this will act as the first generation microbiome treatment. And if we have more knowledge in the body system, then of course, like you mentioned, we can diversify the microbiomes strategy. Well, today I learned a lot of things that I haven't known in the past, thanks to you. And like you said, the microbiome itself, from my perspective, it changed from oral pills to injection to new medicine. So I think this is a paradigm changer. And as you said, the single strain and multi-strain, the transitioning approach, how we map this. Of course, it will need a scientific approach, but you have a degree, like MD degree, so right. So medical doctors, of course, they do have the highest understanding of patients, and finding the best treatment for patients, and connecting that to manufacturing so that we can directly benefit patients. I think that world brings to life. Thank you.